beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good.
Yeah. Someone got gun on all that dirt. Yeah. Yo, if I were podcasting, it would be insane. Knowledge flowing like the sweetest rain. Professor Bear on the mic, spreading wisdom wide. Of his thoughts, that's my pride, can't hide.
With the voices in your ear, changing the game.
If I rule podcast.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I am Professor Bear, and this is A Bear's Thoughts. Guys, girls, this has been an amazing journey for me just over the year and a couple of months that I have been doing this solo. It's been amazing. I've got to talk to some of my some legends that I never thought I would talk to. I get to talk to so many current guys and girls that are doing their things. I've talked to referees. I've talked to people in the industry. But this particular guest, I have to admit, a friend did an interview with her, and it was so amazing. And just listening to her story, I had to have her on my show because, as y'all know, we love hearing different aspects of the world of wrestling, and everyone has something different. But let me introduce my guest, Xenia. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing so good. Thank you for having me. And yes, you nailed the pronunciation of the name, which doesn't happen often.
And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm going to get it. No, I'm not thinking too hard. Right? So before we get into it, I want to let you know, and the fans, the QR code is up. This is a direct link to Xenia's Instagram page. So please go join, give a like, and follow her through her journey of pro wrestling. Now, with that being said, when did you become a wrestling fan?
I've been a wrestling fan for a really long time, since I was a kid. I think I was 11 years old when I started watching wrestling, and it just happened accidentally. Was flipping through the channels, saw SmackDown, and the rest is history.
It is amazing, and that's the question I ask everybody, because everybody has different paths to finding the love of wrestling, and I just find it so interesting too. So you find it at 11 years old, you get into it, it's a thing. What was the thing that actually got you into, hey, I'm going to do more than just be a fan? How did that journey take place?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it took me longer than it should have to kind of put the two together, because I've worked as a journalist before, and I have my education, I have my bachelor's in journalism and PR, and then I have my master's in new media. So being in media and being on camera and behind the camera has been something that's always been in my life. And wrestling was always something that's always been in my life. And it took me way too long to be like, hey, maybe I can put the two together. I think I was about 22 years old, I want to say, when that happened. But it was literally just this eureka moment of just me sitting there and be like, A plus B equals this. So maybe let me put the two things that I love and the two things that I think I'm good at together and see what happens.
So with that being said, what was your first initial thing that you did in wrestling? How did you get started by it?
I started out very much as a traditional YouTuber, content creator, and very much more so YouTuber than anything else. It's now that I do more short form content and I'm more active on Instagram and on Twitter or X and everywhere. But started out very much as a YouTuber. I think it was around the time where the golden age YouTubers got really famous and really rich. And that was around the time where everyone was like, oh my gosh, I want to be a YouTuber too, you know, but it was a different era already. It was a different time already. So our path wasn't the same as it was for all those people who were kind of at the forefront of being a YouTuber as a profession. And now people who start today, their path is going to be different than my path was. But started out very much as a content creator. I did unboxing videos of wrestling figures. I did reactions. I did challenges. I did vlogs. So just, you know, the standard YouTube content of the time of the 2010s.
So with that, and you said something very interesting that I think plays a part in doing this today. A lot of us have that ideal of, oh man, I can do a couple of them and then I'm gonna blow up and I'm gonna be the next greatest YouTuber, content creator ever. But it is truly not that way.
No, it's not that easy. And just so your viewers know, I also work as a media strategist for wrestlers and wrestling promotions. So this is a conversation that's very much up my alley. And if you don't stop me, I'll go on a tangent about it. But the truth of the matter is, with how saturated, you could even say oversaturated, the media field is now, it's going to be harder and harder every year. So if you want to become a content creator, be it in wrestling or anywhere else, the best time was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. Because if you don't start right now, in another year or two, it's going to be near impossible. And this is not just because there's a lot of people doing it. It's also because of the way that platforms work. We know that, you know, platforms have algorithm, right? That initially was designed for a simple purpose of showing you stuff that you like, you as a user, right? But now those platforms have become creator platforms where they prioritize creators and big bloggers and big personalities and celebrities over regular users. So it's a platform that's made for someone with a following, for someone with exposure outside of it, to accommodate to their needs. So it's going to be harder and harder every year, or even every month, I could say, to break that glass ceiling and to break out of your bubble and actually find a bigger audience. So literally, if you're thinking about it now, go start yesterday.
And forgive me for this because this should have been my second question. Where are you? Where were you born?
Yeah, it's funny when people ask me where I'm from. It's always a charged question because I'm from like everywhere. So I was born in Russia. I'm half Russian, half Romanian. And then a good chunk of my childhood I spent in Spain. So I largely grew up in Spain. And then, you know, I just kind of kept moving around. Most of my life I've lived between Russia, Romania, Spain, and now United States. So I've just been everywhere. But short answer, I was born in Russia.
Which I think gives you such a better leap on you, just like a podcaster like myself, because you have such more knowledge of different countries and you know wrestlers from all over, so it gives you a real great insight to not only what here in America what we do, but all over.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, breaking into the wrestling media was definitely an interesting experience being not American or not even a native English speaker, right? Because even now I have a pretty audible accent. And it was much worse when I first started. If anything, I should credit wrestling and content creation with my English. But it was something that I knew from the start that I wanted to do in English, because I knew from the start that, again, English-speaking countries, be it America or Canada or England, are the wrestling hotspots. So if it's something that I love, or it's something that I want to do, I should be targeting those markets. And it's funny because I started in English. And then as I got a little bigger, I started working with my local promotion in Russia. And I started making content in Russian. And there was a whole period in my content creator life where everything was in Russian. And then I had to hit the brakes and tell myself, hey, this is good. And I still, you know, want to help, and I still want to give back to my home promotion, essentially, right, in my home scene. However, this is not getting me far. You know, the wrestling market in Russia exists, but it's pretty small. And especially when we're talking indie scene, because there's a lot of WWE fans in Russia, a lot. We had, sold out shows in 2010s. But in terms of being in the scene, it was a small pond for whichever size fish. I wasn't a big fish at the time, but I wanted to be a big fish, right? So I had to, again, retarget and recalibrate myself to the English-speaking market. But you're right. I've interviewed wrestlers from 20 countries. I've done it in 3 languages. I've done stuff in the Spanish wrestling scene, in the British wrestling scene, in Russia, obviously, in Romania as well, which nearly non-existent. There's more happening now. But at the time when I was first starting again as a YouTuber, I made a mini documentary about wrestling in Romania. And the reason why it was so interesting is because there was almost nothing. There were 5 professional wrestlers in the whole country. And I interviewed the guy who founded the first ever wrestling school in the country, the first ever promotion in the country. He drove across the border from, I want to say, Ireland, and brought the ring with him. It's crazy. So I definitely got to see wrestling in so many of its different facets beyond just the American scene. That you're absolutely right about.
And again, I find that so amazing. Last month, I got a chance to do a promotion appreciation month. And what I started out in my head just doing, it was going to be American and some Canadians promotions, but I made a mistake and sent an invitation to a Finland country. A Finland promotion. And I thought to myself, well, they're not going to respond to it, so I don't have to worry about it. And lo and behold, within 15 minutes, they responded and wanted to do it. So then it woke something up in my brain, and it's hey, I really never thought about what other countries are doing. So I reached out to a bunch of them. I got a lot of responses, and it opened my eyes to how wrestling is worldwide. And I think as an American, we have this belief that ours the biggest and nobody can touch us. If you're not American, you're not doing it. And I was so humbled and appreciative getting to learn other countries' background and how much the WWE plays into their thoughts and how they do things. With that being said, do you have a belief that the smaller promotion, the indie scene, how do you feel about the indie scenes in the world today?
That's a very broad question. I think it really, really depends. Because on the one hand, in countries that do have a lot of wrestling, again, America or Canada or Great Britain or Germany, even Austria, I would put those in the top. And obviously, we have Japan and we have Mexico, the crazy of wrestling in the world. So for those where there's actually a wrestling business and there's actually an infrastructure, those independent promotions have the capacity to make so much more money and be so much more visible than they are. And they're really just not using the tools that are under their fingertips. And this is one of the things that I do. And this is a part of my mission in the world, I feel, to help those promotions that have the great talent, that have an idea behind it, an ideology behind the mission behind it, to get that visibility and to make more money, to be able to afford the things that they need to afford, right? And not just afford things, but to flourish, right? To make money, to be profitable, yeah? Because in wrestling, and I've made that research, that is my research, in wrestling, there's over 30 income streams that a wrestling promotion or a wrestler can have. And most people and promotions only use 3, 4, 5. So they have so much potential, and I'm so available to talk to any promotion if they want to talk to me and elevate them. However, in some other countries, it depends. Because on the one hand, if you have the initial investment, for example, if we're talking the MLPs and AEWs and BXWs of the world and Fourth Ropes of the world, right? Yeah. Where the owner makes a conscious decision of, I'm going to invest in this because I love this and I think I can grow it and I think I can pay the attention and I have the resources to actually invest first and lose money first to get money, right? However, if we're talking about smaller promotions that start in garages and high school gyms, right? They don't have that resource. And in a lot of countries where there's no infrastructure, unfortunately, a lot of those promotions are doomed to be a stepping stone for their wrestlers. And this is kind of how I feel about a lot of the promotions in Eastern Europe, a lot of the promotions on islands, a lot of the promotions in smaller countries, right? They're doing so good, like they're doing such a good thing. But unfortunately, they also have to kind of make peace with the fact that in their lifetime, the industry in their country wouldn't be big enough for them to actually make good money from it. So there comes other things to do, right? They can collaborate with TV channels whenever they need stunts, extras. They can collaborate with YouTube shows, TV shows. They can collaborate with music bands, with circuses, with theaters, and there's money there. And they do that, and they can do private parties, they can do private events. But as a streaming product, it doesn't just have as much potential. I guess it's a long-winded answer, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it depends on the circumstance, depends on the investment. But for any promotion, any size, there are ways to make money, and there are ways to keep it viable, even if it doesn't blow up to the size of TNA or NWA or WWE, let alone.
So, and let me say this: just listening to your answer it shows how much time, effort, and real work you have put into it. It shows how deep you're into it, how you look at all the different angles and stuff. And for me, that's very unique because I don't think there's a lot of people like yourself out there that have looked way beyond the general scope. Because for myself, I have A, B, possibly C, every blue moon a D. But listening to you, you're like, look, there's all these different letters. Don't look at them just when there's an issue. Look at it early. Have a backup plan to your backup plan to your backup plan. And I love hearing that.
Thank you. Yeah, you're so right. And without any, fake humility, I do call myself the only new media strategist specialized in professional wrestling in the world. If I meet another one, I will remove that off my website. But so far, I haven't met other people who do this specifically. And you're so right that it's me starting to do the media development part of what I do was such a natural next step. Because I've been working in wrestling to one extent or another for 7 years. I've done so many things. I've done content, I've done managing, I've done, business consulting. I've done different kinds of collaborations with different promotions in different places, on screen, off screen, podcasts, hosting, you name it, right?
Right.
So for me, I've just accumulated so much information and so much insight and so many facts and tricks and all of this kind of stuff that it was a natural next step for me to be like, hey, I think I need to share this with people. I need to share this with the world. I need to systematize it. I need to put things on paper. I need to put things on video because I can't let it get lost in the journey, So this is kind of how my my educator activities started, because not because I want to celebrate my ego. It's really not about me. It's about people that come to me. But because I just have so much to share with the people in the industry.
And I love that there's a saying, and you may have heard it. When you're in the business, you want to leave the business better than you found it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always say that too. Yeah.
And see, that for me is such a great thing. Because again, let me say it like this: you're such a beautiful young lady that most companies are male driven. So a lot of times men have that mentality: oh, you're just a cute girl. What do you know? Mm-hmm. And you're showing, well, if you come with me, I can show you these revenues and plot points that you never thought of, and how you are losing stuff when you can be gaining stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And thank you for bringing this up, because it's definitely something that I don't get to talk about a lot, but I would like to talk about it, is that I just kind of had to come to terms with the fact and make peace with the fact that people will form first impressions of me that are not always correct. You know, I when I started doing my educational program, I've had people that I've known, that I've worked shows with, tell me, I didn't think you were so smart. Like, it's definitely a thing. And, you know, I sound a certain way, I look a certain way. And there's so many layers to it of how people pick that apart. Because it's one thing, you know, people see this blonde, certain, you know, girl who looks a certain way, has eyelashes and nails and everything. And they think, you know, the lights are on, but there's no one there. And I, you know, it's sad, but the only thing I can do is prove them wrong, right?
Right.
But then another part of it is that I'm tall. I'm almost 6 foot, and when I come to wrestling promotions, they don't hear me talk. They look at me and they go like, "Oh my God, you need to be in the ring." And that's where I have to be like, no, no, no. I'm not an athlete at all in any capacity. So there's definitely so many layers to how people perceive me. And it's something I could wrestle with and go against, or it's something that I could embrace and just kind of take it for what it is and let my actions speak louder than my looks or my accent or any of those other things.
And from what I've seen, and let me say, I'm the type of podcaster that I don't do a ton of research on people.
Okay.
And the main reason why is because I want to learn with my fans. So, and I think it's more genuine this way. But from the little time that I've seen of you and saw some things, I thought to myself, she got the inside track, because a lot of times they're going to doubt you, like you said, for your looks and think, oh, well, she's a blonde, she's really not all there and everything. And you could use that so much to your advantage. And I think you have, in a positive way, and it helps to let people know. And I'm a firm believer in this. Wrestling shouldn't be gender centric. No matter what you are, anything. If you love wrestling, that's it. That's all that matters. And people need to wake up to the realization that we need everyone to help to keep wrestling going strong like it is today.
100%. And making sure that female voices specifically are heard in wrestling is something that I hold very near dear to my heart, and it's something that I've spent a lot of time trying to promote and fight for, essentially. And one of the reasons I even started doing interviews was because I was wanting to platform the women in wrestling. And it's definitely still a very male-dominated industry, just like any sport is, really. But there's definitely some things that are improving, some things that are moving backwards, but it's just an ongoing battle. And with any sphere, really, not just wrestling, with the gender equality, right? We have to keep in mind that it's something that has to be ongoing, because it's not something that, it's not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where you win a certain sum and you can't go below and you get to keep it whatever happens. Unfortunately, with gender equality, it's not the same. And we have to constantly remind people that we have a place in this industry, that we have a voice, that we are also credible, professional, et cetera, et cetera. And it's something that I've noticed a lot, where I could express, for example, the same opinion on the show or the same prediction as a male counterpart, maybe even on the same show. And I would get hate comments, and they would get consideration or maybe questions or just a completely different reaction. And it's something that definitely happens a lot. But again, it's a precarious balance between being very aware of it and being aware of how important it is for women to support other women, and for men, if they want to help, to give women that room and that voice when they can, when they have a platform. But also, on the other hand, to not let it get you down and to not let it suppress you.
I couldn't have said that better myself. It's an amazing journey of where women's wrestling has come from and what they're doing now,
Mhm.
where who would ever thought that women could have a whole pay-per-view, their numbers do great, and people want more of it than what is given to us.
Mhm.
Um, Another avenue I would like to go down with you is with going to different promotions and lending your expertise. Have you ran into a promotion that you were trying to help that just wouldn't listen to you, and you just had to throw up your hands and like, you good luck, I'm moving on?
You're just describing my normal work day. Honestly, all the time. And it's something that does get frustrating sometimes in what I do. And not just with wrestling promotions, but just in general, because, I mostly specialize in sports entertainment. So that's like wider than just wrestling. It's MMA, it's different TV products, so this kind of stuff. It does get frustrating that with new media development specifically, it's something that you not only need to offer to people and have them buy it, but you also have to explain to them why they need it. If you're, I don't know, if a vacuum cleaner salesman, you don't need to explain to a person why they need a vacuum. You might have to explain why your vacuum is better than another vacuum, but
Right.
everyone needs what the vacuum is for. And everyone needs that your carpets are going to be dusty if you don't have a vacuum. But here in strategic media development, people don't know that their proverbial carpets are dusty. People don't know that they could be cleaner. They could not sneeze every time they step on the carpet. So a big part of my job is definitely explaining to people why. Like, why do you even need to do this? But yeah, all the time. And it's not... It doesn't necessarily paint the company as this evil company that's
Right.
doing a bad thing. But it's just not everyone is ready yet for a next step, for a bigger picture, for a different mindset. And that's okay. And that just means that I'm not for them, they're not for me. And I always tell my prospective clients when I talk to them on the discovery calls that after our first initial conversation, 3 things can happen. For example, number 1 is the good outcome where we both like each other and we work together, right? Outcome number 2, you decide that you don't want what I offer and we don't work together. But number 3 is I decide that you are not a good fit for me. And any of those 3 outcomes are completely fine. And we part as friends after that.
I love it. So, who is the biggest? No, let me say it like this. Who have you been able to meet that was just mind-blowing for you? Who you thought you may never, it was more of a surprise. You never thought you would meet that person.
You're also describing my normal workday. So one of them was definitely Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth. I've interviewed him twice, and he was someone that I've been a fan of since I was a preteen, and for him to just sit across from me like an equal and have a normal conversation and give me the time and also play a big part in even organizing the interview and getting us the venue and everything, where he absolutely didn't have to. He could have just, sat back and let me do it, but he proactively made sure that we had a good shoot day, that it was a pleasant experience for both of us, and that made for a good product. So he's just absolutely delightful to work with. He's so professional, just snaps right into it, no matter how tired he is or how overwhelmed he is or overstimulated. So he's one of my all-time favorite wrestlers and just an absolute breeze to work with. Another one that I recently had that moment of, ooh, that's the person that I was a fan of when I was a kid. I've been working with Aaron Stevens, formerly known as Damien Sandow. And I have an amazing long sit-down interview coming out with him on my YouTube channel very soon. YouTube channel is the same as everywhere, as I ended that. And we're working on the last tweaks of the edit. It's coming very soon. And when we were shooting the interview, while the cameras are rolling, I'm sitting across from him, and in my mind, I'm like, whoa, that's him. That's the guy. I have his action figure at home. This is kind of crazy. But there's a lot of moments like that. Or last weekend we went to Atlanta for some wrestling stuff, and we were invited to this fundraiser show by the Good Brothers, Doug Gallows and Carl Anderson, and they treated us so wonderfully, and we had all the access we needed, and we filmed some content, and it was such a fun show. And for someone to proactively invite me and acknowledge my work, and it's someone that I, again, grew up watching on TV, it's always a surreal feeling. It's never not cool, it's always super cool.
I had to tell you my Sandow story. So I went to a local promotion and he was there. And not only was he there, he was at the front door where I bought my ticket. And the owner was checking people in. And he told me, he's like, hey, this is my friend, Professor Bear. And it's like, man, I was like, man, can I get a picture with you? He's like, sure. So we took a picture, and he, like you said, he's such a very genuine, nice person.
Really is,
but I took the picture and put it on my on my Facebook group, and I put, wow, somebody didn't tell me that this wasn't the Miz.
Oh my god, I'm sure he didn't mind, because he talks about it in the interview as well, that him working with Miz was one of his favorite parts of his WWE run, so I'm sure he didn't mind.
Me just being me, I thought it was just funny, and just how most, like you said, most wrestlers are very just down to earth and very nice, and I thought that experience and him let me take the picture was very cool of him.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always so sad for me to see when people generalize the bad things. It's like, oh, all wrestlers are this, all wrestlers are that, or they're all full of themselves, or whatever it is, right? I've met so many wonderful people through wrestling, wonderful, genuine, talented, just brilliant, brilliant people. And even more so, that makes me want to make sure that more of those wonderful and genuine people get that platform that they deserve. Because even working with smaller promotions, like you were saying, for example, in Russia, my home promotion, I have friends there who are absolutely brilliant, and I have no doubt in my mind would have been global superstars by now if they only had the access to the resources, right? Or in Spain, like there's some absolutely brilliant wrestlers in Spain. Like if I had to shout someone out, like from Russia, it would be Kylie Devon. She's absolutely amazing. She's wrestled a lot abroad, actually, recently. She's wrestled in Thailand. She's wrestled like just all around the Asia part of that region, right? And she's just so brilliant. She had a match with Emi Sakura, and Emi Sakura was even impressed by her. Like she's just so great. And for the Spanish scene as well, there's so many great people in the Spanish scene. We have, I don't know, who am I going to shout out? Let's see. We have the King Caden. We have Gerard. We have, oh my God, there's so many people. We have, oh my God. I could go on, but I'm just like thinking, who am I gonna miss and offend by not mentioning them? But there's just so many great people, and it's something that is achievable. Wherever you are, you can get that platform. When we see those things happen, because we see people go viral from way outside of America and then get opportunities in America. We saw Session Moth Martina get AEW matches from her hype on social media. We see, and it's so funny that both those examples have the word moth in them. But Thai wrestler Monomoth, he's booked on Effie's Big Gay Brunch this coming Mania week. And it's because of the social media clips that got super viral because of his super unique look. The gear is just absolutely stunning. And moreover, he makes the gear himself, which is absolutely incredible. And I also have an interview with him on my channel as well. But it has been done, and it can be done again. And people neglect the things that could bring them that exposure and that money because they think they're less important, but they really are not. It's the small things that make the big picture.
And one of my thoughts, and I'm always humble when I have conversations with wrestlers and they ask my opinion about different things. Mm-hmm. And I always tell them, you're a business on yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to make sure that you're promoting yourself. If you get chances to do podcasts, do a podcast. If
Yeah.
you got YouTube page, you are X, if you're a social media, go and blitz your social media. Put
Mm-hmm.
some of your highlights out there. You have to make people want to be in your business. Again, we all think, oh, WWE is the biggest and that's where I want to be. Well, make it where WWE wants you.
You, yeah, exactly. Absolutely, 1,000%. And especially in the current landscape, every bigger promotion wants someone who brings something to the table. If anything, WWE is probably your only bet that's just going to see someone tall and young and be like, okay, we can mold something out of you. Maybe. But
Right.
literally every other bigger promotion, be it AW or TNA or NWA or MLW or MLP or whatever it is, they want someone with a following. They want someone with that capital that they can bring to the table. And it can be a mutually beneficial collaboration as opposed to them having to do everything for you, because ultimately you as a wrestler and the company as the promotion, you're both going to have your own best interest in mind, right? You're not going to sacrifice your own interest for the company or for the wrestler. So it's in your best interest to be something, to be someone, to bring something to the table to where, like you said, they're interested in you, as opposed to you just chasing them, asking them to give you something. You're giving them something. It's a completely different dynamic.
Yes. So something that you mentioned earlier, I want to dive into with you managing.
Mm-hmm.
How fun is that being a manager of wrestlers?
It's fun. Something that I don't do is I don't bump, and people keep asking me to, and I always tell them if it's worth it, I'll bump. If it pays well, if there's enough exposure, if it's at WrestleMania, I will bump. But yeah, no, it's definitely fun. It's definitely fun to create characters and help again other people amplify their character. And it was definitely very different in Russia as opposed to in America. Because in Russia, when you're from Russia, you're just a guy or just a girl, right? And even then, like your gimmick kind of sits on top of that, of your identity, right? But when you come here as a Russian, you're Russian. That's what it is, So you can also, like, if you scroll far down enough on my YouTube, you'll see some promos. And whenever I've done like the Russian diamond character, and this is why I have a diamonds tattoo as well, but I've like amplified my Russian accent. I've sounded like more Russian than I really do, and I'm happy that I have enough people in the industry that I know who I can ask for advice. So I've had some amazing feedback from some amazing people. For example, with the accent stuff, especially, namely Stu Bennett or Wade Barrett was someone who gave me feedback, and because he's kind of in the same boat,
Right.
very thick British accent, and it's something that he like amps up for TV. But then apparently there's a sweet spot of like amping it up and still sounding comprehensible to Americans. So it's a conversation that I've had with him, and he's helped me kind of hone my fake Russian accent. But yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of fun, and I'm open to doing it. I've done some stuff in CCW where when Frank the Clown and Skids had their feud, I was on screen quite a lot with that. But yeah, I'm always open to it as long as it doesn't interfere with my media work, as long as I don't have too many restrictions in terms of kayfabe. But outside of that, I'm super open for it. It's always fun.
For myself, I always wanted to be a manager, and I know that it would be weird for me to be a manager because most managers are the small, itty bitty person, and I'm 6'4", and I'm 300 pounds. So I mean, who am I as a manager can seem realistic to guys that are probably smaller than me?
Trust me, I get you, because I'm 5'11" and a half, and I'm no small girl either. Like I understand, but you just kind of have to figure out who fits well with you, because some of the managers, which granted that a lot of them are former wrestlers, but we saw Jake the Snake Roberts be a manager in AEW, and Aaron Stevens now is a manager in NWA, and he's also 6'4". obviously they have more recognizability and a bigger like field of recognition because they're former wrestlers, but
Right.
it's definitely possible. I'm always such a big proponent of diversity in every way possible in wrestling. I think all shapes and sizes should be represented, and I think it's, if anything, it makes it more fun. It makes it look more interesting and hold that attention span. So you just have to figure out who you're a good fit with. Because, for example, who said that it has to be that the wrestler is this big jacked guy and the manager is this teeny tiny guy? Maybe it can be the opposite. Maybe it can be
Right.
a tiny girl and then the manager is the big guy. So that makes sense, and it makes sense for like a maybe like a cowardly heel trope where they kind of hide behind the manager. So anything can work if you think about it creatively enough.
Yeah, and that is such a great point that I never really thought of. Recently, I got a chance to take a picture with the NWA World Champion Silas Mason, and we were taking a picture, and the promoter was standing there, and he's like, "Wow, Cyrus." I mean, I said Cyrus. I was like, "Wow, Barrett's bigger than you." He's like, "Nah, I just bent down to make him feel better." And it's so fun to me getting to talk with different wrestlers and find out different things. What has been the biggest thing that makes you smile every day and keeps you doing what you do?
Oh my God, that's such a tough question. I think there's a lot of things, but I think one of them that, or let me say two actually, two of them that never fail to make me smile. It's kind of two in one, right? Is when people recognize me at shows, and one of the two in one things is when it's fans and they tell me they like my content and they've been watching my videos or following me for a while, and it's something that makes me really feel like I'm doing something and that people can see and like and enjoy. Because if you're a content creator, which I'm sure you understand as someone who also creates content, you spend so much time kind of in your room talking to a wall, essentially, to the camera, right? That you kind of lose that sense of like, I'm actually talking to real people and they're seeing this and they're responding to me. They're having this dialogue with me without me even knowing, essentially, right? So it really makes it feel like I'm not just alone in the room, if that makes sense. But the other thing in the two-in-one thing is I love it when wrestlers recognize me specifically. When I go to film with someone, or when I go to interview someone, or when I go to pull them aside for a social media clip and I introduce myself and I go, "Oh, hi, I'm Xenia, we're doing this and this." And they go, "I know who you are." And it's immediately such, first of all, again, I feel recognized. I feel like I'm doing something visible in the industry, and that's a wonderful feeling. But also, it just eases the situation. It's just so much more pleasant to exist in because, like I said, I often have to explain to people what it is that I'm doing and why they should give a damn, right? So when I'm lifted off of that duty and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the thing." Immediately, such a great experience because I don't have to sell it to them, essentially. They know. So.
Yeah, I definitely. I still remember the first time when a wrestler and his girlfriend came running up like little excited kids, and I was just kind of standing there, and I kept thinking, okay, they look excited, and then they came up to me, and I'm like, I kind of looked around, I'm like, is it who's behind me? And and they're like, "Oh, we love you, we watch you," and it's like, me.
I actually had a moment that was like a big breaking point in my career, I think, for me in my head. When I first came to America for like a longer time to like actually shoot and meet people, network and everything, right? It was during well, I wouldn't say it was the first one, but it's the first one for like a longer time because usually my wrestling trips would be like a weekend, right? Or a week.
Right.
But the first longer one was when I went to Jacksonville for the first Double or Nothing after COVID, where it was the first one with a live crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I spent several weeks in Jacksonville just filming, and I filmed so many interviews with AW talent during that chunk of time, and so many of those interviews are my favorite still and have some of the bigger view counts on my channel as well. But I was at my first ever AW after party, And I was just kind of sticking by my friends, like not really trying to bother anyone, right? Because you do want to network, but you also don't want to bother people outside of their working headspace, especially if they have no idea who you are.
Right.
So there was this one wrestler who I'm not going to say who it was because at the time he was this like horrible, despicable heel and it would ruin the illusion. But this one wrestler is the first person who, as I'm like standing in the corner at this after party, comes up to me and by name says, "Oh, hey, Xenia, nice to meet you. You're here," and like high fives me. And that's when I was like, "Oh my God, I am here. I am in America. I'm surrounded by those people that I was watching on TV 2 weeks ago, and I am their colleague essentially." And it was just something that kind of clicked in my brain. And obviously, we're all fans if we're doing this, right? You
Yeah.
can't not be a fan of wrestling if you're deciding to cover people wrestling each other in their underwear, right?
Right.
But it was the moment where I was like, okay, I think I'm like on a mentally I need to evolve. I need to be on a different stage and different level because you kind of at some point you have to leave the mark behind and you have to kind of present yourself a little differently. So that was that click for me.
Yeah. I like you said, it's an amazing thing. When I first heard, I had an interview with a UK podcaster, and we were talking. He's like, "Yeah, well, listen to you all the time." I'm like, "No, you don't." He's like, "No, really, I do." And he was telling, and it just, and again, that wow, as I don't think I'm doing anything or anybody really knows me, it's like, oh my God, people know me. My name is getting out there. People, the first autograph, I'm like, why me?
Yeah, I've had that too where like the first time I was ever asked to sign something. Yeah, that's also like one of those moments where you're like, oh, like this is real.
And just like you said, it's like, okay, you can't mark out, you have to be a professional
Yeah.
and you have to carry yourself in a certain way so they know, oh, wow, you're about your business. You okay, I respect that and like that versus, oh my God, you
Yeah.
people. Da, da, da. So
And
yes,
this is also something that's like it's difficult to talk about because whenever we try to talk about it, it sounds mean to people. But the truth of the matter is, if you haven't left the mark, the internal mark behind, people can tell. Especially people in the business can tell. Even if you're behaving yourself, it's behind your eyes. It's in the way that you hold yourself, and it's uncomfortable at times. So if you're going to make this into your living, if you're going to make this into your career, you have to have that almost conversation with yourself and leave it behind.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, where do you see yourself in 5 years doing what you're doing?
In 5 years, I see myself just, doing the same thing, but on a bigger scale. I want to work with more bigger promotions. I want to work with more bigger global talent with global names and just be on a whole different level with it. I always like to say that the objective of any job or any work that you do is to get filthy rich. Like it's not to survive. It's not to simply just tick something off your list. It's to make that life out of it that excites you. When you think about it, it gives you goosebumps, right? So this is what I want for my life. I want to be up there. I want to be the top professional in my industry. I want to have access everywhere. I want to work with the top names and I want to make them a lot of money and by proxy make myself a lot of money.
So I want to thank you for coming on my show. This has been very great for eye-opening experience for a content creator like myself because you have given me the confidence to know that I'm doing a very good job of what I'm doing. My mindset is very similar to yours, and I appreciate learning from you and hopefully being able to add it to my repertoire and continue to get bigger. You have such an amazing brand, and uberly proud of you and your success. Wish you much more. And anytime you feel like wanting to have a conversation, you have a welcome and a free format to come on here anytime you like.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me. This has been fun, and we touched upon a lot of things that, like I was saying in the process of answering, that I don't get to talk about a lot necessarily. So it was great to touch upon those topics and tackle it. So thank you for having me. This was fun, and I can be found here everywhere. So if your viewers want to check me out, if you're a fan, you'll find interviews, you'll find show content, you'll find short form video content with wrestlers. And if you're a wrestler promotion, reach out to me and let's lift you up to superstardom. Let's make you a lot of money.
Yes, ma'am. Again, thank you so very much. Guys, girls, thank you so much for joining me around the campfire with another amazing conversation. We, again, I always say we because in the truest form, I'm a fan, and I'm blessed to take my fandom to another level and deliver, hopefully, great content that you enjoy and come back to. So, with that being said, before I leave, as I always do, and I very much believe this, we'll never stop talking about this. Please, please, please go support your local indie promotion. They have such amazing talent there and great matches that you may never have thought about. And I always say this, I'm not saying that it's better than WWE, but I'm also not telling you that it's worse than WWE. It just is a different style of wrestling and it's more intimate. And I think with intimate settings, you have so much more fun and get to be more ingrained and a part of the show. And you actually could go in, especially if you have a family, and come out with money because it's not as high. Again, you actually get to talk to the wrestlers themselves. If you hang out after the matches, they love talking to the fans, and it's an experience that can last a lifetime and make your kids become a big wrestling fan. So please, please, please go support your local wrestling. With that being said, I am Professor Bear. This is a Bear's Thought, and we will be back around the campfire very, very soon. Y'all take care.